you have a Jamaican passport, Margolin? And when you travel to the UK, do you use your UK citizenship or do you go and get a visa like the rest of us? I travel on a Jamaican passport whenever I travel nowadays. Since I came into government in 2012, I decided I was not going to use the UK passport, and I've maintained that. I have a diplomatic passport as a minister, and then as a leader of the opposition, I got one again. I have a UK visa in my Jamaican diplomatic passport. I was in the UK 2 years ago for a tour. I went up on that visa. I had to apply for it. I had to go to the office here and go through all the biometrics like everybody else and what have you. So I have a US visa in my Jamaican passport. I have a 10-year visa as well, and in my diplomatic passport. So I travel on my Jamaican. And in fact, I'm not intending to renew my UK passport. It expires this year, and I don't use it.
It is my considered view that Section 40 should not be confined to parliamentarians, but extended. In my time, there were 2 appointments I had to make. The people disclosed to me that they held citizenship of another country. I told them, not putting any pressure on you, you have a choice. Renounce and stay where you are. Or if you want to accept this position because of its sensitivity, you have to renounce. Both without hesitation proceeded to renounce and were duly appointed to their positions. There are some positions that I think have to make it clear that allegiance is to Jamaica alone. For example, the Chief of Staff. Otherwise, you're exposing the person to charges of treason.
It does indeed. Hello everyone, welcome to Jamaica 411. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you're here for the first time, welcome. Please hit that notification bell so you can know whenever it is that I upload a video. Remember to like the video if you do, share widely, as well as leave comments if you have something to say. I'd love to hear from you. And also subscribe if you have not done so yet. To my many and loyal subscribers, as well as my even more many visitors who are here with me every time. Thank you so much for joining me again. And to all the JPU family members who are here. You're here with me, you're there with Natalie, you're there with Karen as well on her program. Welcome. So, you must be wondering what it is that I have in store for you today. Well, we started off with Mark Golding, leader of the opposition, as he outlines his immigration status on the morning TVJ program about 3 weeks ago, where he was inclined to speak about his dual citizenship, as he said. And he has been praying for 3 weeks now, and it's now going into the 4th week, and it seems as if he has not had the answer from whoever it is that he's praying to as to what decision he should make, either that, or perhaps he does not like the response that he's getting from whoever it is that he's praying to. Be that as it may, he still has not told us that he has renounced his citizenship, and we are left to wonder why. So as usual, we went and do a further look into English law to see if we can discover why it is that Mark is so reluctant to renounce his British citizenship. Now, for the past 3 weeks, when it comes to Mr. Mark Golding, we have learned something about him that we did not know before. And we now understand why it is that he and Peter Bunting could find it so easy to destroy a movement. According to them, they're going to destroy it and build it back in 5 years. And those treacherous people that they were able to buy with money and promise positions bought into that because it sounds to them like something that will work. Because they did not come into the politics because they wanted to help anybody except themselves. And that was what Bunting and Golding knew. They were there very much for sale and they were duly bought. And so they had some 49% of the party out busy trying to undermine other seats. We now know why it was so easy. Because Mark Golding, loyalty was never to Jamaica and the Jamaican flag. His loyalty all this time was to the British and the British flag. Same king, same queen, different country. Doesn't matter. Peter Bunting, I understand, had Canadian citizenship. I was told he gave it up, but he had Canadian citizenship. I should tell you though, the oath of allegiance for you to get a Canadian citizenship is the same oath of allegiance for Jamaica. Doesn't matter. It's a different country. He was not required though to renounce his Jamaican citizenship as far as I understand it. Different country. So these two men have what is known as divided loyalty. And I would suggest that Mark has no loyalty. He has a British passport which he would have renewed over the years, having first received it as a child, arranged by his father, who himself was born in Britain, and so Mark inherited his citizenship by descent, first generation, and that was the British law which made him a British citizen. But he had an opportunity to become a Jamaican citizen. But he chose not to have a Jamaican passport until it was clear that the PNP was going to win and he was going to get a position. That was when apparently he went and applied for his first Jamaican passport. So it was easy for him and to sit down with Bunting and hatch the plot against the party and against the country. Now, the question is, he has now been caught. He's now the leader because Bunting didn't get his seat. He was put up. He won. He was caught. Nobody knew except Bunting that he had British citizenship. Nobody knew. They would have asked him to give it up because it's the People's National Party's policy that, the persons who are going to represent the party should have Jamaican citizenship only. So where they find out, they would have asked him to resign. He hid it. He didn't want to give it up. And even though he's leading the party now, and he wants to change our constitution, don't ask me no question, no. He's not asking you and me no question because apparently he think that he's, I don't know what. I think he thinks that this plantation and he's what? Henry Morgan? That he's going to tell us what he wants. He wants to put dual citizenship in our parliament when he knows the sentiment of the people. Because you see, if he thought that the people of Jamaica was all right and want people who have their loyalties elsewhere, under an acknowledgement of allegiance who have sworn allegiance to a foreign power. He knew that if the people, he knows that the people don't want to have persons like that in them parliament, right? Although they did a poll showing that some high percentage of them say, yes, man, they don't mind, right? That is before the PJ Patterson said what he said, which you heard in the clip. But he knows what the sentiments of the people are. And that's why he hid the fact that he was a British citizen. He's sitting there and he's telling us that the Constitution of Jamaica allows him to sit in the parliament and he's legal. He knows he's not there legally. He's a lawyer and he knows that whenever the Constitution is read, you cannot read it by itself. You have to go now and read any judgment that was made pertaining to that section of the Constitution to hear what the judge says is the interpretation. In other words, it is the interpretation of the section of every section of the Constitution, even the laws that are made. The interpretation is done by the courts, not by the parliamentarians, not by me, by nobody. It's the courts. That's their responsibility. And he knows that there are Australian cases in Grenada and cases in Guyana, where the courts have ruled that having gotten a passport is an acknowledgement of your allegiance to the foreign power. And that even the United Kingdom, Britain, was determined to be a foreign power. So was Canada. So was any other country. Doesn't matter whether it's Commonwealth or non-Commonwealth. The courts have decided, have ruled that the way in which Section 39 and Section 40 is to be interpreted is that Commonwealth citizen, your qualification for sitting in the parliament. And all of these Commonwealth countries, by the way, have the same wording. You're a Commonwealth citizen, you can come and sit into the parliament. But if you go ahead and got the passport of the country that you're coming from, you're now ineligible to sit in the parliament unless you renounce. Because you can't sit down in the parliament, right, with another country having claim on you as a person, because what you're doing by sitting in the parliament is opening yourself up to being charged for treason if you do anything that is against the interest of the country that says that you are their citizen. So you want to make sure you clear the way that you don't find yourself in a position where somebody will come tell you in your ears that you have to do this, you have to do that. So for argument's sake, let us say a company, let us say you have a Canadian citizen as prime minister, and you have the bauxite company, which is a Canadian company, for argument's sake, polluting the air. And you now decide as a Canadian citizen that you are going to pass a law which would, let us say, drive up the cost, or perhaps even if they can't do anything about the air, and they might have to go out of business. Let's say that Canadian company is sending the bauxite back to Canada in order to be processed into aluminum, and they're making billions. Not only that, but let us say that their industry, the military industry, is dependent on the bauxite coming from Jamaica, right? They already have the foothold here. They're getting it cheap, they negotiated it cheap. Their military industry is depending on the supply of this bauxite. Their car industry is depending on the supply of this bauxite. And if the bauxite coming from Jamaica were cut off, all of these industries will collapse if they are unable to find supplies from elsewhere. And let us say elsewhere where there are bauxite deposits, all other countries, the United States, Russia, everybody else control those bauxite. And the rates at which they are going to be able to buy the bauxite is prohibitive, right? Which means that the cost of everything is going to fly up in Canada. That is the situation we're talking about. We are looking at a situation in which the Canadians' national interest is tied up with the Jamaican bauxite industry because it's the only deposit that is left that they have control over. And to lose it would be to the detriment of their military and their society. Now, do you think that as a Canadian citizen, the Canadian government, knowing that you're a citizen, is going to allow you to be able to do that? They're going to come and tell you, no, you can't do it. You can't be a Canadian citizen passing a law. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who put you there. You can't be a Canadian citizen passing a law against the interest of Canada. That is the problem with the dual citizenship. So in this example that I'm giving you, this scenario, what would happen in that case is that the leader will not be able to do anything about that bauxite company that is ruining the air quality, ruining the water, wherever they are. Let us say somewhere in St. Elizabeth, St. Anne, anywhere they have their industry. They will not be able to pass a law to protect you and your children and our environment, because now they are opening themselves up to being charged for treason by their home country, Canada. And nobody wants that. Nobody will ever put themselves in that position. So they are not going to be able to do anything. So you in St. Elizabeth, you in St. Anne, you in Manchester, you in Westmoreland, wherever you are, right? You now will have to suffer with the air pollution, destroying your lungs, making you uncomfortable, you can't breathe, and some of you will die because this Canadian citizen is unable to do anything that is not in his own personal interest, because if he makes that move, his government is going to bring him down. So he's going to make the decision to sit there and do nothing about your air quality while the bauxite companies are killing you and your family and your neighbors, destroying the environment, polluting the waters. And that is the danger of having people with dual citizenship in the parliament. It doesn't matter whether them are prime minister. It doesn't matter if them are senators. It doesn't matter if they are MPs. They are lawmakers. They have influence and they will protect themselves. And they will not give up their positions of power and influence. But you will argue, but Michelle, we were the ones who voted for these people. They're born in Jamaica after all, but them have citizenship for Canada. That no mean nothing. They should be able to, and they ought to, because we voted for them, they ought to make decisions that is in our best interest. But they can't do it. And they will not do it. And so what you have in situations where you have dual citizens in your parliament, don't matter whether it's prime minister, don't matter whether it's member of parliament, no matter if they are senators, they are lawmakers. And so what they are in your parliament are agents of another state. That is what they amount to. Secret agents in another state acting in your parliament on their behalf, not yours. And if you believe that that is only a problem for the leader, try and understand that the leader of a democratic society such as ours in the parliamentary system does not act alone. And if he surrounds himself with a whole heap of people with foreign allegiance, then he will not be able to make decisions, even if he's a born Jamaican. He will not be able to make decisions that is going to go against your own personal interests or put them in a problem with for them country where they come from. If you look what is happening now, for 3 weeks, the People's National Party and the world knows, right? And the Jamaica Labour Party, that Mark Golding is illegal in our parliament. Why you think the Labour Party has not done anything? Because it looked like them have a whole heap of people over there in the same condition, and they are preventing Andrew Holness from doing anything about Mark Golding. So whole of them go and sit down because the whole of them don't have no integrity. They're a bunch of cowards, right? They just have to face facts. These are the house slaves, the ones who kiss up to Massa. They're the ones who kiss up to Massa. And so when Massa left, Massa turned over the plantation to them. That's basically what is happening, right? So they are not going to do anything about. So if somebody in this society don't take the matter into hand, the Constitution is like a piece of toilet paper that worth nothing more than to do what it's supposed to do and be flushed. Because these people are not about your interest and mine. It is about their own narrow personal interest. But Mark Golding has been asked from every walk of life in this society to give up. You cannot stay there in that position with dual citizenship. We don't find out the rest of them yet. We only hear word or throw, but we don't know who they are except Matthew Samud. And he promptly announced that he is going to renounce. But it does not stop there. If you were at the time when you were appointed to the Senate, you were not eligible to be there, you need to resign. So talking about you're going to renounce and you sit down in the Senate, that's not how it works on. You go to your prime minister, tell your prime minister, I'm going to have to do it. You have to time it properly because the English process is a long process. You actually have to wait for them to give you the approval before you are considered no longer a British citizen. Unlike the American system, the minute you carry in your renunciation form and the stamp that they received it, that's when your citizenship ends. Not so with the British. You have to get the final approval for your citizenship to come to an end. So you are going to have to find out where the process is if you start already and tell the prime minister you need to resign and do the thing properly, and him going to appoint you back in and not going to cost the taxpayers nothing except the paper that going to reappoint you. And then when you do that now, you come back and you put you back in the Senate and you're good to go. You've done the right thing. Honorable young man. Right? The rest of them, they will stay until we find them out. The question is though, Mark is behaving very strangely. And I say strangely because Mark doesn't live in the United Kingdom. He lives here. His wife and children are here. His mother is here. And any one of his number of his English family are here. The rest of them over there in England and wherever else in the world they come from, Australia and so on. Right? He just, according to him, was born here. Let us take his word for it. So why is it that he is defying our Constitution and determined that he's not going to give up the citizenship? Why? I don't get it. He's not using the passport. So why not just write up the renunciation form? It's a long form. Write it up and put it in. What is hesitation about? Why is he hesitating? All right, so let us both now put on our investigative cap. When we put on our investigative cap, so that's some serious thing we'll get down into, right? So we're putting on our investigative cap and we're going to see if we together can find out or figure out why it is that Mark is hesitating. I mean, it seems simple to us, but why is it that he is giving such weight to this matter? Let's see if we can figure it out together. So on the screen, you're seeing a record of birth. It says Anna Louise Golding. Anna Louise Golding is Mark's older sister. She was born in 1963. He was born in 1965. And on the screen, you see it says here that she was born, well, it says here, event, place. And this is the recording they're talking about. First, you see Kingston. So we're going to assume that this is not Kingston, Berkshire. Very possibly, it is Kingston, Jamaica. And it says here, at the bottom, you see where it says source publication, GRO, General registry office, births abroad, and at the indices is 1966 to 1978. And below that, you will see that it's from the High Commission. So apparently she was registered through the High Commission. Now, as I said, we don't know if it's the Kingston in Berkshire or the Kingston here in Jamaica, but the event place is Kingston, Berkshire, England, United Kingdom. And it says the source collection title is British Nationals Born Overseas. It's important that you remember that. British Nationals Born Overseas. That's the title that we're looking for. All right? So what this is saying, when Anna was born, her father, because they are operating now under the British Nationality Act of 1948, and under that act, it's only your father that if he's born in England, you're automatically a British citizen, right? So their father went and registered her with the British authority, and she would have a birth registration from the British High Commission, and that is what she would use, I suppose, to get the passport and register in school and everything else that was done. So this is her record. So we are still searching to find Mark's own record. We haven't located it as yet online, but we are searching because we are certain that it did the same for him as he did for Anna. So let us now get to what we believe is the reason why Mark is yet to renounce his citizenship, his British citizenship. So pull up your chair, come a little closer now, come a little closer. We're going to look now at the process for renouncing your British citizenship. It says here, how to renounce British nationality. And we're going to read now. So it says here, you can renounce your British citizenship, British Overseas Territories citizenship, British Overseas citizenship, British subject or British national overseas status by completing the declaration of renunciation. So there are 6 different types of British citizenry, and that depends on where you were born and the condition of your parents. So let me continue now. So remember now, we were looking at Anna's, how Anna was classified, and she was classified as a British national born overseas. So she would come under the British overseas citizen. The other one is a British subject or British national overseas. Actually, that's what she would be, the British national overseas. All right? So that's her status. So all of them, all 6 categories of British citizenship, they can renounce. Now I should just give you a little bit of history, short, just little tidbit. Once upon a time, when you were born into these European monarchy in the countries in the feudal system, and even after the feudalism was over and you have the monarchs, you could not renounce your citizenship. You're born English, you're an English, right? And you can go live anywhere else, but you're still British. That's how it used to work. So they changed after a period of time, and now everybody can renounce. Okay? So let me continue. It says here, if you hold more than one of these citizenships or status, apart from British Overseas Territories citizenship, now those now are like Cayman, Turks and Caicos, those little islands, Bermuda, and so on. They are the territories now citizenship. You can renounce them all on one declaration. So let me read that again. If you hold more than one of these citizenships or status, apart from British Overseas Territories citizenship, you can renounce them all on one declaration. If you wish to renounce your British Overseas Territories citizenship and another citizenship or status, you will need to complete 2 declarations. So if you have more than one, they're saying, say you have your British citizenship from Cayman, and you have another one that you qualify for, you have to use 2 separate declarations. That's what they're saying. This is because the application to renounce British Overseas Territory citizenship needs to be made to the governor of the territory. So you have to sign that one up now, Caymanians, too, and give it to your governor in your territory. But all other renunciations are made to the Home Secretary. That Home Secretary now is in the United Kingdom. It goes on to say, you will cease to be a British citizen, a British overseas territory citizen, a British overseas citizen, a British subject, or a British national overseas on the date your declaration of renunciation is registered by the Home Secretary or Governor if you are renouncing British overseas territories citizenship. In wartime, the Home Secretary or Governor can withhold registration. The American one says the same thing. If war broke out and you want to renounce, no renunciation can go on there, so no. Because you know what can happen. A lot of men might decide they're going to renounce just so that they won't be drafted. So they don't allow, um, you know, renunciation when they're at war. Okay, so remember now, it is important that you recall when the declaration of renunciation is effective. It's effective when the Home Secretary registers it, not when you handed it in, but when the Home Secretary is satisfied that you satisfy the criteria or the requirement for renouncing your citizenship. And one of the things you have to do, you have to show that you are a citizen of another country. Mark says he has a Jamaican birth certificate, but having a Jamaican birth certificate does not automatically make you a Jamaican citizen. There is one instance under our Constitution, it's section 3B, 3A, where it says that if you are born to parents or one parent, both parents born overseas, none of them Jamaican, so they're born overseas, and one or both of them have immunity from suits or from the laws of Jamaica, then the child and children born here of that couple, according to our Constitution, they are not citizens of Jamaica. So our laws require, our laws of 1879 requires that every child that is born in Jamaica, no matter who you are, whether you're diplomatic or you are locals, it doesn't matter. You're passing through and the baby born BAPS. Every child that is born in Jamaica has to be registered with the Registrar General's Department. In 1879, that law has been in place. So they would have had to register him if he was born here, but it doesn't follow that because he was born here that makes him a Jamaican citizen. No, that depends on the condition and the status of his parents, who are two English people. All right, so you get that now. Okay, so let us continue. It goes on to say, if your declaration is registered in the expectation of your acquiring another citizenship, meaning that you don't get it yet, but you do not do so within 6 months of the registration, the renunciation will not take effect and you will be considered to have remained a British national as before. So you see what I'm saying? Handing in the paper is not what, and them receiving it, that is not when you have renounced. It's actually when they sign off on it and give you back the stamped document, that's when you are officially renounced. It goes on to say further, a declaration of renunciation affects only the status of the person making the declaration and does not affect the current status of any other member of his or her existing family, which means that if his wife is a British citizen, I suppose, his renunciation will not affect her status. She's still British. All right, now this section I put in bracket now. Let me read it for you. Because it's now telling you now whether or not you can become a British citizen again once you renounce. And I believe, and we believe, that this is what is the problem why Mark has to be given this serious consideration for him a man who has always thought of himself as a British subject and a British citizen, is now being required. He went and put himself in the position, because he knew that he is not prepared to give it up. So rather than just hold him corner, he decided to come into politics and hide it. He thought he was going to be able to bluff his way through into Jamaica House, and none of us will be the wiser. And by that time, we will not be able to do anything at all about it. That's his wet dream, I suppose. So let me read this section for you now, and let us see if we are onto something. So it says here, a person who renounces British citizenship or British overseas territories citizenship has a right, once only, to resume that citizenship. So this is saying that if you were born in Britain or in one of the overseas territories such as Cayman, you when you renounce, you can change your mind and resume your citizenship, but only once. And it goes on to say, if the renunciation was necessary to enable him or her to keep or obtain some other citizenship. So this is saying that because another of the requirement when you are renouncing your citizenship is that you have to do it voluntarily. You can't be forced into it. So if you live somewhere and them change a law and say, look, you lived there for years, right? And as a British citizen, and suddenly they change a law and say, look, you can't stay here anymore unless you get Cayman citizenship. You're going to now be under duress and you can renounce. And if you renounce under those circumstances, you can tell the government, look, I want to resume my citizenship. I had submitted and renounced my citizenship because this is a British citizenship we're talking about, because of the fact that the other country required that I give it up in order to remain in the country. Then in those circumstances, you can get back the British citizenship. Understand? All right. Now listen to this part now. A person who renounces British citizenship or British overseas territories citizenship more than once, that means you can get a chance doing all of them so once, you get another chance, or for any other reason, may be allowed to resume that citizenship if the Home Secretary or Governor thinks it fit. So it's now up to the Home Secretary and the Governor to determine whether or not, you get it. So this is now above the pay grade of those persons in the consulate or wherever it is that, yes, it's in the consulate, that you will be handing over the documents. So they can't make that decision anymore. It has to go to the Home Secretary or the Governor of the territory for them to determine whether or not they will give you back the citizenship if you have renounced more than once. So this is the part now where things get interesting. A person who renounces British overseas citizenship, British subject or British national overseas, which would be Mark and his sister, status, cannot later resume that citizenship or status. Let me repeat that. A person who renounces British overseas citizenship, British subject or British national overseas status cannot later resume that citizenship or status. And there, my friends, lies Mark G's problem. If, like his sister, he was registered as a British national overseas citizen, if he renounces, he can't get it back. That's it for him. The only way he can get it back is if he can show, just as the others, that he did not do it voluntarily. It was forced upon him because the country changed its requirement for citizenship. And in order for me to get that citizenship, I have to renounce the British. Maybe they could try that, but according to this, they don't even make that an opportunity for them to renounce, to renew, or to continue being a citizen. And this is why Mark Golding cannot renounce, at least in his own mind. because he can renounce, don't win the next election, or even if you win the next election, and come out of office at some stage and then go back to them and renew. Unlike unlike Matthew Samuda, who was born there, he can renew. He can withdraw the renunciation and continue being a British citizen at any time, but not Marky G. Hence, we believe that this is the reason why he's hanging on to it. Hanging on to it. Not about Jamaica. He is about himself. And you recall what P.J. Patterson said in that earlier clip when he said to the two persons whom he was seeking to offer sensitive positions to, they said to him, but we're not citizens, we are dual citizens. He said to them, we're not putting you under no pressure, but if you want this job, you're going to really have to renounce. And the two persons, he said, without hesitation, dropped them foreign citizenship and took the positions. Why did they do that? They did it because this was an opportunity for them to serve Jamaica, and they were very happy to do so, right? And it is Jamaica and the service to Jamaica that was of more importance to them and not the citizenship of the other country. So they shook that loose, did not even hesitate, got rid of it, and served the people. We don't know who they are, but this now is what you do when you're patriotic, when you believe in your country, when you love your country and you want to serve your people. You do not hesitate to give up the thing that is standing in your way, which is a citizenship of another country. Right? Mark Golding is hesitating. Him no more than hesitate. 3 weeks is a hell of a long time for him to be praying. And he's telling us him not giving it up and down the place, prims up into the parliament, illegally. But I know he knows at some point, out of the 2 million voters in this country, somebody going to take him to court. He knows. Living on borrowed time, trying to bluff his way out, telling people that the Constitution says he has a right to be there. Right? That's what he's telling people. And he knows he's not speaking the truth. He knows he's not speaking the truth. He does not want to give up this British citizenship because it means more to him than Jamaica does. And that can only be because he sees, because for all we know, he's not even using the British passport. According to him, he's not using it. So what's a big deal? Get rid of it. He's not living there. He's not planning to live there. Why is he holding on to it? Because of his heritage? No, it's more than that. It's more than that. He does not look up to this country as somewhere that he wants to be a part of. He wants to be a part of the British heritage. That's the people, that's his people, that's the people that he look up to. Those are the people he wants to be associated with. Those are his people. And he's looking down on you. And you think it's a joke? Think about it. Put yourself in the position where your parents say move to India. They are Christians, the Indians are Hindus. And you know how these religious things is. They look down on the Hindus and think that their religion is superior. They're working there. You are born there. They sought, because you're Jamaican, automatically by descent, right? So they went and they got your Jamaican passport. They didn't try and get you no Indian passport, right? That's where you live. Occasionally you come to Jamaica, but that's it. You live there, you work there, and you still have your Jamaican passport. You have not sought to get an Indian passport, right? Now, you know that the Indian Constitution requires, for example, that you should be Indian only to sit in them parliament. You know that. You know you're not prepared to give up your Jamaican citizenship because that is what you value. You value the Jamaican citizenship. And as a Christian yourself, you look down on the Indians as heathens. He's a Jew. Mark Golding's a Jew, right? So you look down on those Indians. And so you don't want to be you don't mind working, you have friends and so on, but you don't want to be an Indian. You don't want them passport. You don't want that. For some strange reason, you decide to go take up yourself going to the People's Parliament, knowing very well that you're not supposed to be there, but you hide the fact. You even went now and applied for an Indian passport just so you'll be able to trick them in thinking that you're Indian only, and they don't know that you have dual citizenship. You're not giving it up. Do you now understand what I mean when I say that Mark Golding is not prepared to be a Jamaican only citizen because he does not look at this place called Jamaica as anything else other than somewhere to work and make money and live in a nice climate, right? He does not want to have anything else to do with us. He looks down on the country and values where his family come from. And he's taking 3 weeks, and I'm telling you, somebody going to take him to court, and he will renounce. He will renounce at that stage. But he's going to think that he can bluff. Come and show you the renunciation paper, and then look to go back into a by-election and sit down in our parliament, and then possibly cancel it before the Home Secretary makes a decision, and you won't know, because that's the sort of person that he is. A general, in my opinion. And just in case you're wondering if maybe, just maybe, he might be reluctant to renounce his citizenship and lose it forever because he has investments in Britain, properties in Britain that he may not be able to access because he's a foreigner. No, according to this site, which says Get Golden Visa, buying a home or buying properties in the United Kingdom is not illegal. Any foreigner can do so and even get mortgages. So that's not the consideration here at all. So that's where we're leaving it for today. Thank you so much for joining. Please remember to share as widely as possible. I'm going to be dealing now in the next video. You'll see. I'll put it up later on today because it's already done. And what we'll be dealing with now is why it is that everyone is saying that Mark is not legit in the parliament, and we'll prove to you that he's not legit. What we'd like you to do, though, is to share the video, because by the time the next one comes around, I'm sure the PNP people, the party people, JLP, because they have some persons who are illegit too, and they will understand the issues. So when they hear these lawyers are talking, and when you hear the lawyers speaking as well, you will understand what they're saying and whether they're telling you foolishness, because some of these lawyers are very partisan, pretending that they are not. So until later on, take good care of yourself and walk good.